On today's show, Damian Lillard comes up clutch in his Bucks debut. What did we learn about the new look Milwaukee Bucks? Plus, LeBron James and Kevin Durant faced off for the first time in 5 years. Who had the edge? We got all of that and more on today's Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. Wes Goldberg here with Adam Mares. However you might be tuning in, YouTube, Odyssey, or your favorite podcast app, thanks so much for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. We're here following some Thursday night basketball, a good night of hoops. So we had the Lakers beating the Suns in a fun fourth quarter. We'll talk about that game and get to our hottest takes from the opening week of the NBA later on. But let's start with Damian Lillard's Bucks debut. Milwaukee beats the Philadelphia 76ers by 1 point. 118 to 117. Damian Lillard hits a game-clinching three-pointer in the final seconds. Dame time, baby. Adam, let's just jump right in. What's your biggest takeaway from the Bucks-Sixers game?
I mean, it was a great game. First of all, what a night for basketball. Two marquee games, big names, both games delivered right down to the wire. So this was a really good night for the NBA and their first sort of, their second marquee night. It was a great game. I thought Damian Lillard, after the game, Adrian Griffin said, I could tell he wasn't going to let us lose tonight. He had something in him that you could just tell he wasn't going to let him lose. And that was sort of my takeaway as well. We've seen this obviously from him in Portland. I don't know that this game is very indicative of what the Bucks are going to become. This almost felt more like the Portland Trailblazers in some ways of last year, where you're requiring on the will and heroics of Damian Lillard. But you know what? It was their first game of the year. They wanted to feel good win at home. And if that's what it took, Damian Lillard going off and sort of taking over to the degree that he did, 39 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, then so be it. He was spectacular.
You're absolutely right. It did feel like a Trailblazers game. Giannis was sort of just disappearing in different parts of that fourth quarter when Dame was taking over. That two-man game's still a little clunky. I want to put a pin in that, though, because the thing that stood out to me about this game, Adam, was this is the difference for Milwaukee, right? Like that clunkiness, like they're going to figure stuff out, right?
Right.
That two-man game will look different in April than what it looks like now between Dame and Giannis. But Drew Holiday's not hitting that game-clinching three with seconds on the clock. Like he's not doing it. Like last year, what do the Bucks do in that situation? They run a high screen roll with Giannis. They try to get him downhill. Giannis drives to the basket with 3 or 4 defenders converging on him in the paint. He either kicks it out to Grayson Allen in the corner, who's taking that shot now, or he's trying to get to trying to draw the foul, get to the line, and maybe hits 2 of those free throws. In the playoffs against the Heat in that first round, he only hit 50% of his free throws. Maybe he hits 2 of those, and if he does hit 2 of those, Adam, then Philadelphia, they came back down the other way. They made a 2-pointer there. That game would have been tied instead of Milwaukee being up 1 and getting the win. So that game is tied. It goes into overtime. Maybe that ends up being a loss for Milwaukee. That, to me, is the difference.
Oh, there were so many of those moments. To be honest with you, this game almost felt completely randomized down the end. I mean, there were spectacular plays. I'm not trying to take anything away. On both sides, by the way, I thought the 76ers had some spectacular plays. Mm-hmm. You had the most egregious flop I've ever seen in that moment. You had a Jay Crowder flopping on a Kelly Oubre screen, a referee standing right in front of it. And the funny thing, the broadcast caught the ref looking at the play, shaking his head like, no, that's not a foul. And then the other official from across the room called the foul. And you think, oh, my God.
We're getting rid of those, Adam. Didn't you hear? The NBA is getting rid of the flopping. No more of those.
I was trying to figure out, did Philadelphia not have a challenge at that moment? Because that, to me, that felt like one of the more obvious, you're going to win.
So they did blow. Nick Nurse used his timeout on a challenge with 11 and a half seconds left. When did the flop happen?
So no, it happened well before that. Okay. So to me, it was a huge moment. It felt like a huge moment at the time. But those plays happen. No, this one, I think to me, the thing is Giannis and Dame offensively. Everybody talks natural fit. You plug them in. It's just going to be, how do you stop that? It didn't look good at all, I didn't think, tonight on the offensive end. No, they got the win. They made it work. And I really thought it was the Dame without Giannis minutes that looked the most natural. Again, it looked like Portland. But again, I think it's pretty obvious that this is a thing that's just going to take time, not that it's a thing that's not going to work.
I charted the pick and rolls in like the last 3 minutes. They ran 3 pick and rolls together in the last 3 minutes. And even some of those were sort of fake pick and rolls. You could still see when Giannis is coming up to set that screen. He does it slowly, kind of a little unsure, kind of thinking about, okay, where does Dame even want me to set this thing? I don't even know if I should go to his left or his right, what side my body should be facing, because they haven't played together, right? Like this trade also happened so late. Like there was never any like cool summer workouts where they got in the lab together. Like they didn't get any of that stuff, right? Like this is all brand new on the fly. They had a couple of preseason games together, but that's it, you know? And so Giannis is still very much in this sort of like, I'm just figuring this out now. Cause you think about his old pick, like Chris Middleton is his like highest volume pick and roll partner basically in his entire career. He's spent his entire career with Chris Middleton, right? He knows exactly where Chris Middleton wants things set and how he wants things. Dame is a completely different creature, right? He's getting these things. He's getting these screens set high up on the logo, all these things. I think it is going to take a lot of time. I think it's going to be terrible. Like it worked tonight. Like the 2-man game is what got them to where they needed to go. And then eventually Dame just took over in isolation, but it'll get there. I think I'm still confident in it.
And it's worth noting that I thought Milwaukee looked rattled. So Milwaukee has the lead for most of the game. The Philadelphia makes some great adjustments, storms back, takes a lead late in the game. And I thought that the Bucks as a team looked rattled. And I thought Dame as a player did not. And that kind of stood out to me. Again, when I talk about it, it looked like he was trying to will the team to victory. Again, this was just a one-off game. I don't think we could read too much into it. But at least as an observation, as a one-off game goes, that to me stood out. Giannis even had a very Philadelphia's on like a 7-0 run. Giannis sprints down the court and shoots a pull-up like 19-footer for some reason early in the shot clock, totally off. And you just thought, okay, they're starting to take bad possessions. They're out of rhythm. Dame obviously took over, took control, sensed the moment, and the rest is history.
I hesitate to say this, and maybe I should save this for our hot take segment. This trade and the new coach and everything has a little... Don't take this the wrong way, people listening. It has the potential to maybe expose Giannis a little bit in that he's not a great passer. He's never really been a great passer. He really benefited from Mike Budenholzer's like everybody stand in your box. Giannis drives and kicks out to spots, right? Like Giannis threw to not to targets, but to spots on the floor. And you would have a sense of when they were open. This offense is a little bit different. This dynamic with Dame is a little bit different. So when I say exposed, I just think that I'm super confident that Giannis he's a problem solver. He's a high basketball IQ player. He's going to figure it out. But I do think that this sort of, he's got to take a step back to take a few steps forward, for his team to take a few steps forward, if that makes a little bit of sense. He's just kind of learning more stuff for the first time in a very long time, in other words. So I think that's interesting. Can we talk about Tyrese Maxey for a second?
Sure.
31 points tonight on 10 for 22 shooting, 3 of 8 from three-point range, 8 assists, a couple of steals. Just trade James Harden. Just do it. He's ready to go. I actually was really impressed with him and pretty impressed with Philly tonight. You could have made the argument that Joel Embiid was the best player on the floor for certain parts of this game, as good as Damian Lillard was. And it wasn't even a great Embiid game. So I just Tobias Harris had 20 points. This is a well-rounded team. They've got a ton of talent. Kelly Oubre Jr. coming off the bench.
He played great. Points. He was the story to me. I mean, Tyrese Maxey obviously was a story as well. But Kelly Oubre, I didn't know what to make of that signing or how he would fit in. And he really looked good tonight. Now, we've seen this from Kelly Oubre. He went 5 of 6 from 3. Kelly Oubre is one of those guys that if he goes 5 of 6 from 3, he's an all-star caliber player. He's probably not going to shoot that too consistently. But tonight, he gave them exactly what he needed, I thought, on both ends. And then Joel Embiid, we talked about down the stretch, Milwaukee and Giannis looking a little rattled. I thought Embiid I thought he was a little clunky, honestly, for most of this game. In the fourth quarter and in the clutch, he really looked smooth. And I thought, and really the story of the game, him, Dame starting to make some shots back and forth. We had a nice little back and forth there for a stretch in the clutch. That was pretty fun.
Kelly Oubre, like the ultimate feast or famine guy, right? Like he went 9 of 11 for tonight without even looking at the numbers. I bet you he has just as many 1 for 11 nights in his career. Like it's just, but him coming off the bench, it's perfect, right? Because then if he's hot, then you play him, you ride him. And if not, sit back down. We'll give the ball to Maxey again.
I think though, I want to say this note. Philadelphia has a good top 9 guys. Yeah. I actually think they have 9 players. And you're talking about James Harden, just trade him. What do you get back? I know there's the big question, this or that, but I don't think that this is a punch year or needs to be a punch year for Philadelphia. It doesn't have to be. And you have 9 guys. You probably could use a little bit more depth, maybe another piece, but But
you don't
I
need
just
a
don't.
home run with a James Harden trade. Just hit a single,
That's
hit a
it.
double.
Yeah,
Just
that's exactly it. You don't need a home run. I mean, I think you can get too greedy and ruin your season because that group can play. And Tyrese, and in some ways, I don't want to say better than was with James Harden fully bought in or this or that, but they certainly have an identity that I think they can, sort of build around.
Yep, absolutely. Coming up, LeBron and KD played each other for the first time in almost 5 years. Who got the edge? That's coming up next here on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Dave. At one time or another, we all need a little financial help. That's why Dave is great. Dave can get you cash when you need a hand between paychecks and can help you build credit by settling extra cash TM advances on time. Dave is the banking app that's leveling the financial playing field. When you download Dave, you can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. No credit check, no late fees. It's part of Dave's extra cash TM account. Advance the money you need with no interest and then settle up later. Extra Cash TM gives you more money to buy groceries, fill your gas tank, finally get your car repaired, or catch up on those bills without having to wait for your next paycheck. You can even build credit when you settle up on time. Millions of people are already downloading the Dave app to make their finances easier. So if you're in a pinch, get the help you need by downloading Dave. Download Dave today at dave.com/lockedonnba. That's dave.com/lockedonnba. You can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less and no credit check, no late fees. Download the Dave app now or go to dave.com/lockedonnba. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Eligibility criteria and instant transfer fees apply. Banking service provided by Evolve, member FDIC. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is also brought to you by Jase. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world, and it's more important than ever to be prepared. Hurricanes and tornadoes can put your personal supplies to the test. Unrest in other parts of the world can lead to supply chain shortages for medications, affecting your ability to get your medicine when you need it. That's why you need the Jase case. The Jase case is a personalized emergency medication kit that contains 5 essential antibiotics that treat the most common and deadly bacterial infections. You can also customize your case and add additional life-saving medications based on your unique needs. Jase now offers personalization for your Jase case with dozens of add-on medications. Choose the medications that fit you best and your family's needs. Jase is always working to expand their offerings and have recently added ivermectin as an option in the Jase case. They also offer gift cards. Buy a gift card for your loved ones so they can get a Jase case of their own. Go to jasemedical.com and enter the code LOCKEDON at checkout for $20 off your order. That's promo code LOCKEDON at Jase Medical, JASE Medical.com. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Our hottest takes from the opening week of the NBA is coming up next. But let's jump in to our second night of Thursday night basketball. The Lakers and the Phoenix Suns. This one was a fun one, Adam. Lakers end up getting the win 100-95. Worth noting, no Bradley Beal for the Suns, no Devin Booker for the Suns. The Lakers were without Jared Vanderbilt, whatever that's worth. They end up getting the win here. What'd you think?
Another good game. I think more than anything, this was just like a fun game. I didn't know coming into this game that those two had not matched up, KD and LeBron, for 5 years. I mean, that was obviously
they sort of did in the preseason, so maybe that's what.
Well, no, that's not what I was thinking. I just did not realize it had been that long since the two had been on the court together. But they delivered. It was a great back and forth. LeBron, especially down the stretch, LeBron put on the afterburners. LeBron's doing this thing this year. I think LeBron, I know we're doing hot takes later. LeBron, I think, is going to lead the NBA in on-off plus-minus differential because he's doing the thing again this year where he staggers and goes up primarily against the bench. But this year, they have a nice lineup to kind of build around him with some scoring, some offensive options. He was a +7 in a blowout loss to the Nuggets in his first game, and he was a +22 in a 5-point win tonight. So that just shows you that they are using him as this battering ram against weaker lineups, and it's working really well. And then, on a minute restriction, supposed to play 28 to 30 minutes. He gets it going in the fourth quarter. Darvin Ham says, you know what, ride this whole thing home. He plays 35 minutes, gets 21 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists, and a lot of that, especially the most spectacular parts, came in the clutch.
That fourth quarter was tremendous. There was a point early in the fourth quarter where TNT throws up the graphic, and it's Kevin Durant, 30-something points on super immaculate efficient shooting LeBron James, 11 points. And you're like, what is going on here? And then basically right after that graphic popped up, LeBron took over. In the final 4 minutes, he had a series where he kind of rope-a-dopes Phoenix's defense, kind of lulls them to sleep. This is like his new old man move that he's developed over the last couple of years, like 30 feet away from the basket, kind of pretends that he's not even playing basketball. Phoenix's defense falls asleep. AD comes in and kind of slowly sets a pick, and then he just turns on the afterburners, shoots the gap, splits the double team, finishes with a wide open, easy layup at the basket. Very next possession, Phoenix bringing it down. They get Nurkic driving to the basket. LeBron rotates over, cuts off the driving lane, denies Nurkic the shot at the basket. Nurkic throws up a bad shot or something, or throws it to somebody else. They throw up a bad shot. LeBron gets the defensive rebound, then goes coast to coast, draws the foul, makes the free throw, and then on the very next, a couple possessions later, James jumps the passing lane, intercepts KD's pass to Nurkic like he's a defensive back, like he was Ed Reed back there. And he's just like doing all these things. And you're like, this guy can just choose when he wants to turn it on. And it's just insane to me. And by the end of the game, I mentioned the graphic that was up there before. By the end of the game, he's got 21 points on 7 of 14 shooting. So 50% overall shooting, 8 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Just sort of a home effort. He was a plus 22 in the game. You were talking about plus minus. He was a plus 22 in this thing. It was crazy to witness that.
Yeah, and the defense in particular. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out what this Lakers team is. Like when you talk about a contender, what's the pitch? What makes you a contender? And that second unit with LeBron has flown around. It's been long, and they've made some things happen on the defensive end, got stops and got out in transition. And I think that was, again, the story tonight. You go to the other side, Anthony Davis tonight has sort of a bounce back performance with 30 points, 12 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks. He got to the line 10 times. High profile. He did not score in the second half of that opening night game against the Nuggets. So this was a bit of a bounce back game for him. And he even had some big plays down the stretch himself.
Yep.
So obviously those two guys are going to have to carry you home. They did that tonight. And this one, we talked about the last game feeling like the Bucks, and maybe Dame, it was important to him, refused to lose. This one almost felt like a desperate game for the Lakers because I thought they were going to lose. They outscored them 28-11 in the fourth quarter. This looked like a loss, and there was a bit of desperation out of the Lakers tonight to be like, we can't go to 0-2. We can't start the season 0-2.
For sure. And look, a bounce back game from Anthony Davis. You mentioned some of the defenders on this team. D'Angelo Russell is not a defender.
No,
I've been impressed with his defense in the first couple of games, actually. He's had moments here. And it feels like the Lakers, talking about that supporting cast, there's moments where they look terrible and there's moments that look great. Like Taurean Prince tonight, 0 of 5. Taurean Prince in the opening night couldn't miss. You know what I mean? And it just feels like the entire strategy of building this team around LeBron and AD was, all right, it's all feast or famine, guys. It's just a bunch of Kelly Oubres. That's all we're doing here. And we're gonna kind of throw out some lineups and test some dudes in the first half, and whoever's got it, we're gonna ride them going down for some heavy minutes and some heavy innings here, just to buy LeBron and some AD some time and maybe even get them some extra rest. That LeBron played 29 minutes in the first game, right? He played 33 minutes tonight because they had to close this one out. I think you're right, spot on with that desperation comment, but it's just a weird way to build a roster where you really never know who's going to pop, and you're just hoping that somebody pops. And tonight, you had D'Lo going off for 14. You had you had Christian Wood having some good minutes in that, good moments in the second half. Hachimura had 7 points, but you just look at this roster, it's just like a bunch of I don't know. I guess we'll just see what it is tonight, kind of guys.
Yeah. I'll say this. I'm pretty unimpressed with the Lakers through 2 games because we have to remember that this was a Phoenix Suns team missing their 2 of their 3 top players. And while it felt like a desperation game for the Lakers, it kind of felt like just go out there and see what happens. Like Kevin Durant put on an unbelievable performance, 39 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. He goes 14 of 28 from the field, and he didn't really have his 3-ball going tonight. He was a plus 18 in this game, playing almost 40 minutes. So just shows you that they got absolutely murdered. And again, this is a little bit of the Lakers and LeBron strategy. Save LeBron for the weakest moments and then use it as a battering ram. KD did all he could in 39 regular season minutes, but it wasn't enough because he had to sit for those 9 minutes and then he got killed.
The 9 minutes. This game really came down. Like plus minus doesn't really tell the whole story most of the time. It did tonight. You look at plus minus. That's what the game was. When LeBron was on the court, the Lakers won those minutes and kept by 22 points.
And it was all in the stretch when KD. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When it switched.
Yep, exactly. So weird Phoenix thing. Have not had their trio together yet through 2 games.
Shocked. I mean, come on.
Our hottest takes from opening week is next here on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. All you have to do is pick 2 to 6 players, and if they're going to score more or less than in a Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 25 times on any entry. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you watch, including the NBA and NFL. So let's see. We're going to combine both of those sports here to make some picks for the weekend. Adam, you're going to be happy about this. I got Nikola Jokic. I'm looking at him. 41.5 is the number. Points and rebounds combined against Memphis. Memphis, we know, is without Steven Adams. I think he's going to eat up those. He could get those 41.5 just on rebounds. But yeah. Especially if Jaren Jackson's back there just handing him rebounds. So I like him at the over for 41.5 points and rebounds in this game Friday night. I've got the under on PJ Washington, 16.5 points against the Pistons. That Detroit front line is big. PJ Washington is sort of a finesse big. I don't see him getting 16.5 points against that front line. And then we're bringing in the NFL. We're bringing in my Miami Dolphins here, Adam. Tyreek Hill. A little bit of a hip scare this week, telling reporters today, I'm fine. I'm all good. I'm over it. They're setting his over-under at 89.5 receiving yards. That's free money. Against the New England Patriots, it's going to be free money. I'm going the over on 89.5. I'm taking all those 3. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It is that easy. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. For those moments while you're waiting for the game to start, open up the app, check out the options, make your picks, and put your skills to the test. Enjoy the game. Bit more sizzle. Prize Picks offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value. Prize Picks now offers Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. With the Prize Picks reboot policy, your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets hurt. Prize Picks is the only DFS platform with injury insurance. So go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. All right, we're going to try something new on a Friday here, Adam. We're going to take a look, scan the week that was opening week of the NBA, and we're going to come with our hottest takes. And maybe at the end, we could try to decide whose take was the hottest. You want to go first?
I'm going to start mild. I'm going to build up a little.
Ooh, okay. I like that.
My first one, get the homer picks out of the way. The Denver Nuggets are in a tier of their own.
Okay, there we go.
There is no team in the same. If we were tiering these by caliber of team right now, the Denver Nuggets clear everybody head and shoulders.
I think I agree with you, and I don't know that we agree for the same reason, but I'm watching like these super teams that I put together, whether you the Lakers, the Suns, or Milwaukee, and the talent is undeniable, right? I mean, Phoenix, when they get their dudes back, the talent is undeniable.
So much talent,
just oozing with talent. But it's the little things, isn't it? It's the little things that we don't see. We were talking about the 2-man game with Giannis and Dame. You know who doesn't have that chemistry problem? Jokic and Jamal Murray. You know, it's the weird depth thing, like with the Lakers, like again, like it's these feast or famine guys. I don't know that they have anybody that like they have no Josh Okogis. They have no guys that are working really hard. And then you look at the Phoenix side, they have no feast or famine guys, really. They just have a bunch of Josh Okogis. You're like, all right, what's really happening over here? And so it just sort of feels like all these other teams have holes and little things to work through, and they haven't really quite figured out the nuances and the things that win basketball games long term and win championships, which is the thing that Denver has been building up to. Not to say that these guys can't figure it out in April, May, and June, but they're just not there right now.
Sure. I think another team or two will enter Denver's tier by the end of the year. I do think one of these teams is going to build up to that. But as it stands right now, all those things you just said. And by the way, I was thinking about this. I'm trying to brand the Nuggets. You know, we have to talk about, best player. Is it the best duo, the best big three, whatever you want to say. I think Denver's starting lineup has a chance. They need to win, I would say, one more title probably. But they have a chance to go down as one of the best 5-man lineups. You think about the Warriors' death lineup. That's a 5-man lineup that we remember. You think about the Detroit Pistons. Tayshaun Prince joining the starting lineup, or the group that they would roll out there. That was an all-timer. I think Denver's 5-man lineup just fits together in such an interesting way. And they are picking up right where they left off after Game 5 of the finals in terms of chemistry, execution, and the ability to just stack things on top of each other in the half court. They look unstoppable at the moment.
Let's stay there then with historic. The Wizards might have the worst defense I've ever seen. Like, they might end up having the worst defense, and I understand that they're playing the Pacers, and I really like the Pacers, and I almost went the other way on this. I might be like, I almost went hottest take. Pacers are going to be a top 3 seed in the East. They're this year's Sacramento Kings, and I might still go that route. But you also have to consider that they've played one game, and it was against the Washington Wizards, who are actively tanking. Yeah. This defense is bad.
Yeah, it is.
And I don't know how else to put it. They gave up 148 points.
In game one?
In game one, the Pacers shot 52% overall. They had 38 assists on 56 makes, which is a solid ratio, but it's not like, oh, wow, like the ball movement was just popping and all this. Like, a lot of this was just like Indiana just getting to the basket whenever they wanted. Case in point, Bruce Brown had 24 points. So I don't. Brucey B. Tell me on the Wizards. Let's say who's the best wing in the NBA now? Let's just say they're going up against let's call it the Celtics. Jason Tatum's not the best wing, but they're in the division. They're in the conference. So who are you guarding Jason Tatum with? Is it Kuzma? Is it Avdia? Is it Danilo Gallinari? Like, I don't know who you're putting on him. Also, they have Danilo Gallinari apparently.
This is going to be – last year I thought there were very few tanking teams. And it's weird because we had Wembanyama. It's like the best year, a very interesting year to tank. This year I look at the bottom of the league, and there's some real duds. Washington might be the biggest dud of them all. I mean,
the dudderiest.
Houston, Chicago had themselves a players-only meeting already after one game. Utah and Portland look atrocious. So there's some teams at the bottom, and Wizards – embodying that the most, where you look at it and go, man, that is a awful basketball team.
One last point on this hot take. This might be the last time we talk about the Wizards all season, Adam.
Is this it? We just did it? We just did it. We have players on there, that at least were famous at one time, or were interesting one time. I went the other way, by the way. I said the Pacers are the most fun team in the NBA.
I love it. Let's do it.
Most fun. Number one.
I like the positivity.
It's positivity. Yes, they were going up against a bad team, but they have fun players. I almost said number one offense, but there are some other teams, Phoenix and Denver, that I think those are going to be all-time offenses. So I don't know if the Pacers are going to be able to keep pace with those two. But in terms of just pure fun, this is a team that loves to run and gun. That's a hell of a backcourt with Brucey B and Tyrese Halliburton. They've got fun names all the way up and down the roster. They're going to score a lot of points. They might be the number one most fun team that you'll never see because they're not on national television at all this year.
You did your True League Pass rankings last year, and they made your top 5 there. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this one because I don't have a whole lot on it. But Jalen Johnson, start putting your FanDuel bets in for most improved. Ooh. 21 points off the bench for the Atlanta Hawks. You talk to people in the Hawks organization, they love this guy, and they've loved this guy now for a couple of years. And it feels like he's going to have a breakout now. So just watch out. 21 points off the bench for the Hawks in their first game. A 116-110 loss to the Charlotte Hornets, but we don't care about that for individual awards. What's your next one?
You want me to go again? I got 2 more here. So they're getting hotter. Devin Booker is the 3rd best player in the NBA.
Wow.
The 3rd best. I think Jokic, Giannis, and then then if you start to get, okay, is it Steph still? Is this? I think it's Devin Booker. I think he is the 3rd best player in the NBA right now.
So I had him on my list. I love the way you framed your take. It's way hotter than mine. I just had him. He's the MVP favorite right now. Yours is better. I love it.
I love this. You were going to start the MVP conversation?
I was going to do it now. I was like,
I love this.
Let's go.
This is the earliest it's ever gotten started.
One game. He's only played in 50% of his games, but I don't care.
That's true.
All right. I think I have, let's see. Do I have one more take here? Do you have one more?
I
feel
do.
like I had one more here. I'm trying to find my notes.
I like I said, these are getting hotter and hotter. This is the one that's going to get us like downvoted and some negative reviews. The comments are not going to love this one, and I don't really believe it, but it's fun. It's Friday. It's Friday. Let's get fun. The Milwaukee Bucks are Damian Lillard's team.
That's sizzling. That is sizzling.
He's on fire.
I don't even have. There you go. I don't even have to believe it. It's just it's a fun take to have. Tonight they were Damian Lillard's team. Tonight they were.
They were. He is an alpha. So is Giannis. All right. I have one. It's a bad note. Should we end on a negative note?
Let's. Oh man.
Do
you have a downer one? Here, I'll turn it. You give it to me. I'll spin it into a positive.
I don't believe it. Okay. But so I'll preface that way. I think we were too early to anoint Chet Holmgren as the savior to the Thunder's problems. He got bullied by Nikola Vucevic. I didn't like what I saw. Everybody is talking about the Bulls players only meeting. By the way, award-winning players only meeting, like earliest players only meeting ever. Congrats to the Chicago Bulls. You nailed it. But I'm watching that game, and Chet Holmgren is lean. He's not standing up at the rim. Like there's not a whole lot of rim protection that he's offering. He just seems more interested in doing things on offense than doing things on defense. I don't even really care about it because it's his first real NBA game, and I'm still waiting to see all this stuff. And these are all the issues that we had about Chet Holmgren when he came to the draft. But people talking about, was he like the dark horse for rookie of the year and all this stuff? I'm holding back on it, right? He's a lot like Wemby, but he's also not a lot like Wemby. Wemby's got like 5 inches on this guy. Let's also remember that. So,
well, I'm not going to spin yours into a positive. I'm just going to disagree with it. I'm going to disagree with it. Hold on a second. So, in his NBA debut, his team got a win on the road. Is that right? 124, 104. Yes. It actually wasn't particularly close. And in that game, he plays 25 minutes. He's a plus 14. Meaning they won their minutes by pretty comfortably while he was out there. Now, it wasn't because of him. I think it was because of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But my point is, he's a rookie. And Chicago is actually a really hard team to go against if you're a thin center or an undersized center because Vucevic is enormous. Drummond is enormous. That's two of the biggest centers in all the
Drummond
NBA.
Crossed up Chet Holmgren, and I can't. I'm never going to shake
that. That's all it was. That's really what it was. Yeah.
All right, let's end it on a positive then, because you were talking about the Thunder, and it reminded me of this other hot take that I had earlier. SGA is the best difficult shot maker in the NBA right now.
A fun take, but wrong.
It's not that hot. What?
But no, horribly
Who's better?
Wrong, horribly wrong. Did we not just witness the absolute GOAT, Nikola Jokic, make the head, one-legged over the head?
He's 7 feet tall.
I'm just saying, do you not remember against AD? AD had to laugh and look at him and just say, man, I don't know what to do with this. LeBron, what does LeBron say? You just got to tip your hat to that guy. And guess what? He has ugly and difficult shots that he has branded. The Sombor Shuffle is just an ugly off-balance shot. He takes it and he practices it. Jokic is not just of right now the best tough shot maker in the NBA. He might be and probably is the best ugly shot maker in the history of the NBA.
So we got your final hot take, right? That Devin Booker is a top 3 player.
I got that one in. Yeah,
we got that one in. All right. Jaime Jaquez is going to win Rookie of the Year. That's all we have for today. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Every day is make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. Honestly, wherever it is that you get your podcast. The show is going to be back on Monday with the biggest stories from the NBA weekend. Until next Friday, you can find me over at Locked On Heat and Adam over at Locked On Nuggets. Have a great weekend, everybody.